Yo, what's going on, everybody? You coming in? Do me a favor. Trying out a new little setup. So do me a favor. Come on in. Type 5 if you can see me, and if you can hear me, all right. All right. Type 5 if you can see me and hear me just fine. New little setup. So do me a favor. And I'm gonna go ahead and go live on Instagram. Let me turn this around. All right, cool. We got some files in the building. Cool, appreciate that, y'all. Appreciate that. All right. Yo, Instagram, what's going on? Do me a favor, Instagram, if you want to watch this entire video, do me a favor, come on over to Instagram. I'm sorry, Facebook. All right, come over to Facebook, join the conversation with us, and we'll get this thing started pretty soon. How's everybody doing tonight? Y'all can hear me good? I'm using my microphone for the first time in a long time. I've had it for a while, but haven't been really using it. Instagram, what's going on, y'all? Good? All right. So before I get started, I do want to make a little announcement. So this video right here is going to be about the new blog post that I have posted up. The blog post is called High Blood Pressure is Not a Disease. I highly recommend that everybody go check it out, read it, read it and make sure you understand it, because what we're going to do right now, I want to go, and this is going to sound crazy, I want to go above and beyond just telling you what to do to lower your blood pressure, okay? And you're probably wondering what's above that, the solution, because that's not really the solution. In order for you to get the actual solution, you need to understand what high blood pressure really is, and then understand what they have told you. And they can be your doctor, society, health, the health institution as a whole, and really see what else that can be applied to. Because coming up, a lot of people were talking about the second wave. And if you watch the very first video that I did on coronavirus, COVID-19, if you watch the very first video I did, back in February 28th, everything I said in the video was relevant now. It was relevant back then. I told you that it was going to be it's going to be upgraded to a pandemic. I told you that a lot of people will be affected. A lot of people are going to unfortunately die. But I also told you there's going to be a lot of hustling going on. And so if you thought that what you saw the first wave, and I'm not here for the fear mongering, but I am here for the empowerment. In order for me to empower my community and do my job, the position that I have set for myself, I have to talk to you all in a very blunt and open way about this whole thing that we saw and we're about to see again, but in a very different way. If you thought the fear mongering on the first half was unprecedented, just wait until you see the second half. What I My goal with this conversation and the other conversations to come, which once again I have an announcement to make, because there won't be too much more conversations after the couple ones that I'm going to lay out. But the goal of those conversations is to empower you. Okay, I don't want you all, my community, walking around scared. I know they're talking about how this thing is affecting us, our numbers, but I really need for you all to look at the history. And that's why I've been doing historical videos with the professor, Aaron Smith, because if you don't understand history, you're doomed. You're really doomed, because many of these things are just pretty much repeating it. All right. So we're going to have a conversation about the new blog post I just posted up. It's actually an old blog post, but I revised it, and I'm using it again because I want to go back to the very basics. I'm not going to so much discuss, what to do, what herb, what vitamin. Right now, what I need you all to understand is the basics, the foundation. I would turn around and look at my bookcase, but I have it covered right now. But there's a book. It's talking about the code, and the book is talking about pretty much if you don't understand white supremacy, like the actual foundation of it, everything else is going to only confuse you. And so that translates to everything. If you don't understand the basics of something, forget about it. Everything you think you understand on top of that false understanding, everything else is only going to confuse you. When it comes to health and health improvement, many of us think we understand it because we've been given the main talking points from mainstream healthcare. But what you think you understand is widely misleading. So we're going to talk about why. I'm going to place the case for why high blood pressure is not a disease. Okay. So if you've seen the blog, I mean, you can pull it up, but you don't have to because I'm going to show it right here on the screen. So you don't have to pull it up. I'll bring it up right now for you all. Also, I'll make it in. I'll also talk about something briefly. I won't talk about it too much because I'm not completely sure how I'm going to work this. But H-BAMN as a company and, myself as well, we're going to be taking a step back for a little bit. Okay. We're going to be taking a step back for a little bit and have to make some adjustments and really kind of think about certain things. So as far as, a timeline, I don't have a timeline. I don't have a date of when I'll be stepping back or stepping down. Um, but it's going to happen. I'm pretty set on it happening. And as far as how long it'll be, I don't have a date on when I'll come back or if, I will come back as what you've historically known us for in the past 6 years. And I know that's a little vague and you probably don't understand, but I'll clarify it in the coming weeks. But that's also one of the reasons why I want to make sure I go back and take you all to the basics because uh, August, September, and October is going to be very, very interesting. All right. So I'm going to pull up the screen. Do me a favor and make sure you all let me know if you can see me. I'll see the screen when I pull it up. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. Can you guys see a picture of the black doctor with his eyes bugged out? Can y'all see that right now? Type 5 if you can see it. If you can see homie with his eyes bugged out, type 5. Can y'all see him? Now, the reason why I've used this picture in the past, and I rather enjoy using it because that is the expression so many people give me. Once again, I've been doing this for 6 years, right? H-BAMN has been around for 6 years. And when I tell somebody, mainly in the medical profession, but even if it's just, a patient, that high blood pressure is not a disease, that's pretty much what they look like. And I understand why. I completely understand why, because for so long, that is like the base level disease. Like that's like stage 1 of diseases. If we're talking about Street Fighter or like playing Mario, like this is level 1 of diseases, right? So if I'm telling you that your level 1 disease that you think you are aware of is not even a disease, now I want you to think about what else you have built upon on that faulty level of knowledge. What else? So I won't just say that it's not a disease, but I'm gonna go through and talk about it. All right. So let's go through it. Now, mind you, the link for this blog is in the description or it's in the somewhere in this title. But let's go ahead and talk about it. So I start off the blog article talking about 2 examples, and I want this to be a very interactive conversation. All right, because this is a conversation, not a presentation. This is just me talking to you all because I need for us to get this. I need for us to get this now. Now. All right. So we're going to talk about brown leaves and check engine lights. So I want you to imagine that you're a gardener. Okay. And one day you're walking through your garden and you happen to notice that one of the leaves on your kale plant is starting to turn brown. Now, as a gardener, would you then A, pull out a can of green spray, paint, and paint the brown leaves green? Or do you B, check the soil, look for insects, make sure it has water, check all the typical things that may lead to browning of a leaf and actually get to the root of the problem. A or B? Which one of y'all gonna pull out the spray can, and which one of y'all going to do further investigation? A or B? Type it in. Sounds silly. It sounds silly, right? But it's not. It's not that silly when we bring it to high blood pressure. So A or B? Let's go. I need y'all to put that in the chat. A or B? Instagram. If y'all want to see the actual presentation, I need y'all to come on over to Facebook. Okay. So what say y'all? All right. So Yolanda says B. Takia says B. Tanika says B. Romel says B. Okay. All right. Yolanda says B. Okay. All right. I got you. Well, let me throw another one at you. Second scenario. How about this one? Let's say you're driving home one day and your check engine light came on. Would you A, cut the wires to the check engine light leading to the dashboard, that way you no longer see the check engine light, or would you B, take the car to your mechanic or try to figure out what the problem is yourself and fix it? A or B? Which one y'all doing? You gonna cut the wire to the check engine light? You gonna place a piece of duct tape over the check engine light? Or you're gonna actually take the check engine, the actual car, to a mechanic and get it diagnosed? Which one are you gonna do? A or B? All right, we got some more B's coming in. Y'all cheating? Y'all must be cheating. No, I'm playing. I'm playing. Yeah, B for sure, right? Now, these are two very different scenarios, right? These are two different scenarios, but at the same time, the logical thought process is the same. And that logical thought process is that you understood that the effect has a cause, and the cause was not the effect. All right. So in the first scenario, it's easy to understand that painting the leaves only provides temporary aesthetic relief, but does nothing, absolutely nothing at all for the actual function, nor any other benefit of the plant as a whole. In fact, because you have solved the wrong problem, which is the actual look of it, which you can actually see, because you solved the wrong problem, which wasn't a problem in the first place, that kale leaf, if you eat it, is now toxic. Y'all get that? Do you get that? And when we look at the second scenario, we understand that cutting the wires to the check engine light does absolutely nothing to solve the problem. Why? Because the light was not the problem. The light was trying to inform you of a problem. So not only that, now that you have cut the wires, but we're not even sure what the initial reason was. We're not even sure what the initial problem was that the light was trying to warn us about. In fact, the very reason that you have a check engine light is to warn you and raise awareness that something is wrong, that something is not optimal, and it wants you to check the engine. And so when we think about the engine, many of y'all can testify to this, with all the potential things that can go wrong with the engine and all the potential things that the check engine light could be warning you about or informing you about, I think it's safe to say that the check engine light is actually an ally. But when you cut the wires to your check engine light, you have now treated your ally like an enemy. Y'all understand what I'm saying so far? Y'all following me? Type 5 if you follow me. Type 6 if I lost you. 5 if what I'm saying is making sense to you. And 6 if I completely lost you. If I did an Allen Iverson crossover, and I left you on the ground and I'm over there dunking it, just stop me. Type 6. Type 6. Or type 5 if you roll with me. All right, Ramel says 5. Good, good. Because we don't want to leave anybody behind. I need to make sure we get this. I don't want to talk about what herbs, what vitamins. I don't want to talk about no tricks. I don't want to talk about what type of little gimmicks. I need for us to understand the basics. Because if you understand the basics, we don't have to worry about getting hustled. Like the hustle that's about to happen in a little bit. All right, good, good, good. So, okay, so let's keep going. All right, so this thought process is something that could be continued and used for an example over and over. However, I think you all get the idea. So when we think about high blood pressure, along with so many other so-called diseases and how they are treated, I can't help but to think of these scenarios. What is the root cause? Is it really a disease? And so that's the question. is it really a disease? And in order for us to actually answer that question of, is it a disease? We have to now ask, what is a disease? What's the actual definition of the disease? Also, if it's not a disease, is it a sign? Is it a sign that is denoting an underlying factor? Also, should it really be treated? And if it should be treated, then how? These are just a few questions that we should ask with all diseases, all of them, not just high blood pressure, not just type 2 diabetes. And these are the things you all are very used to hearing me talk about, but all so-called quote unquote diseases. Why? Because not asking them may lead you down the road of aggressively treating a problem that is not a problem, but rather a sign or a symptom. And like I said before, treating signs and symptoms is just like painting brown leaves green and cutting the wire to check engine lights. So unfortunately, I really, really hate to use this example, but we saw with the first wave of coronavirus, there was a huge demand for ventilators, and that's because they felt that ventilators would be beneficial. Then you started hearing a lot of practitioners on the front line saying that, yo, these ventilators are not working. I think we're dealing with something else. This doesn't look like your typical respiratory disease. You started to have practitioners come out and say, we have to stop treating this thing with ventilators because not only is it not helping, but we believe that it's actually hurting. Do you all remember that conversation? And so this will be an example of aggressively treating the wrong problem because you saw the demand for ventilators. You saw all these new policies and legislation being enacted to make all these ventilators that are now sitting, right? So yeah, I'm not gonna do the conversation right now as far as where did that money come from and where did money go, because as a taxpayer, that is your right to ask that question. Where did that money go to? Who manufactured it? But anyways, let's stay on track. Let's stay on track. But I want you to keep that in mind about aggressively treating the wrong problem. Aggressive. All right. So I tell you all that this is a topic that I talk about in the book called the Blood Pressure Manifesto. This is a free book. You all can go to my website and get the Blood Pressure Manifesto. It's a PDF. I do have a physical copy that's coming up pretty soon. So y'all can be on the lookout for that. In addition to that, also have a free course called The Truth About High Blood Pressure. So the information as far as what to do, I already have it out there. However, I can tell that I need to do more work as to explaining what this thing really is, if it's not a disease, and why so many of us believe it to be a disease. So let's go to the dictionary. What is a disease? What is a disease? So as defined by Oxford Dictionary, a disease is a disorder of structure or function in a human, animal, or plant, especially one that produces specific signs or symptoms, or that affects a specific location and is not simply a direct result of physical injury. All right, so that's Oxford's. Let's look at the actual medical definition. A pathological condition of a body part, an organ, or a system resulting from various causes, such as infection, genetic defect, and environmental stress, and characterized by identifiable groups of signs and symptoms. So we done heard signs and symptoms twice. So it sounds like a disease needs those two things. It needs to meet that criteria, signs and symptoms. So let's go through this thing by covering some very basic anatomy and physiology, because after all, this is what I'm always telling you all that we need to understand. Basic anatomy and physiology is health defense 101. All right, this is where the thing starts at. This is where your empowerment starts at. Because if you understand why you have a heart and you understand what the function of your heart is, you understand why your heart rate is increasing. Y'all understand me? If you understand the function of your heart, you understand how your heart works, just on a basic level. You understand that it's pumping blood through your arteries and your veins. If your heart rate increases, you're going to have several reasons why they could be increasing. And if it decreases, you're going to have several reasons for why it could be decreasing, because you now understand the function. The function. You understand what I'm saying? Let me check in real quick with I'm sorry, Facebook. Facebook, y'all good? All right, let's keep on going. All right, so remember up here it said disorder, right? It talked about a disease being a disorder. Y'all see this part? Disorder. Well, my question is disorder where at? So I said in my book, The Blood Pressure Manifesto, you will see that I repeat this question. What is the function of blood? And it's important. So we need to understand what the function of blood is and its importance. So quite simply, without blood, our cells simply cannot survive. In medicine, we call this process ischemia or hyperperfusion. So some of y'all are already in the medical field. Some of y'all are doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, MAs. You've heard these terms before. Even some patients have heard these terms before. But ischemia is essential. When we're talking about ischemia, we're essentially talking about damage that was done to a cell because of a lack of oxygen. Where is that oxygen coming from? The oxygen is coming from the blood, the red blood cell. That's when we're talking about the hemoglobin. And so your red blood cell is carrying several things that all of those cells need. We have trillions of cells, trillions with a T, not a B, not an M, T, trillions. And so if you are going through a process where you have ischemia or hypoperfusion, which is low perfusion of those cells, your body will adapt and regulate as much as it can in order to prevent this from happening, including increasing your blood pressure. So therefore, whenever we see that there's an increase in vascular resistance, this increase in vascular resistance must be met with an increase in blood pressure in order for you to survive. All right, so let me stop right there. We just talked about the fact that you have trillions of cells, right? Trillions, 37 trillion, some say, 7 trillion, some say. All you need to know is trillions. We don't need to be exact, but we have trillions. And we understand that every single one of those cells has needs. It needs oxygen. It needs the nutrients, those nutrients being the vitamins, the minerals, but also when those cells use those the material, it's going to create a byproduct that's going to be waste. That waste is going to be transported from the cell and recycled or disposed of. And so the arterial system is delivering the oxygenated blood. So this is what the left side of your heart is doing. And then you have the venous system that is responsible for bringing back the deoxygenated blood. And so when you look at the charts, when they're talking about, blood, and you see it's like red on one side and green on one other side, the red represents the fresh oxygenated blood. That's the arterial side. The blue represents the deoxygenated blood. That's the venous side. And so this is a process that we need. If you can't have that happen, this is going to be a huge problem for the body. So I'm telling you that anytime the body faces a situation where it's having a decrease in that blood flow, it's having a decrease in perfusion, your body doesn't want that. It's going to do whatever it can to get that blood to those trillions of cells, because not doing it represents potential death. It represents a possible death. And so your body's going to do whatever it can, including increasing your blood pressure. Y'all understand me? So when we look at high blood pressure in this way, you will learn to see and appreciate the intelligence of your body. There is nothing disordered about an adaptation, regulation, and homeostatic mechanisms. So I just told you that your body's going to overcome the resistance and adapts to the environment by increasing the blood pressure. This is well organized. This is a well organized system. That's the opposite of disorganization. This is the opposite of disorder. It is organized. Upon stimulus, which is low oxygen, low O2, your body is going to respond in an organized fashion by increasing your blood pressure, causing vasoconstriction, increasing your heart contractility, your heart rate. Is going to do whatever it needs to do in order to make this all happen. And so this is an intelligent physiological response to vascular resistance. Y'all understand me? So let me go back to Facebook real quick. Facebook, talk to me. Type 5 if you understand what I'm saying, because we're about to move on to the next section. And once again, I don't want to do the Allen Iverson crossover and leave anybody, wondering what happened. Type 5 if you understand me. 6 if you need me to go back over something. Right now, what I just did was explain uh, pretty much the idea of a disorder. The idea of pretty much I just debunked the idea that this is a disorder, that this is a pathological system. This is something that's supposed to happen. Let me ask you another question. Everybody's washed cars before, right? When you are washing your car and you're just washing it, you're just putting suds on it, you're washing it, and that water's just coming out at normal flow, nothing crazy, normal flow. When it's time for you to rinse that car off and really get that sludge off, what do you do? What do you do? Well, you understand that you need more water, right? And so you need more water pressure in order to really spray that sludge off. So what do? You take your thumb and you put it over that hole. You have now replicated increased vascular resistance. You have increased the resistance of the hose. And when you think about nozzles, when you put a nozzle, when you put a nozzle on a hose, that's increasing vascular resistance. That's increasing the hose resistance. And so in order for the body to adapt to that, or in order for the hose to adapt to that, it has to now increase the water pressure. Same thing, or similar, very similar. I'm not gonna say same thing, very similar. All right, so everybody's putting 5 in the chat. Let's go on to signs and symptoms. All right, so they say in order for this disease to meet the criteria as a disease, the pathology must have both signs and symptoms. So I don't want y'all to cheat. I'm gonna go ahead and roll it down. In the chat, please tell me the difference between signs and symptoms. And if you know the difference, give me an example. If you don't know the difference, it's completely fine. Just type 6. If you thought they were the same, that's completely fine. Type 6, but you're gonna learn today. So if you know the difference, let me know, and also give me an example. If you don't know the difference, you think they're the same thing, go ahead and type 6. It's completely fine. You're safe here. You're safe here. All right, so let me see. Signs and symptoms. All right, so we got somebody on Instagram says 6. All right, cool. You're gonna find out right now. You're gonna find out right now. Let's go, Facebook. Let's go. Let me know what the difference between the two are. And if you could, provide me with an example. Signs and symptoms. All right, so Yolanda says 6. No problem. No problem. Sharon says 6. No problem. No problem. We're going to talk about it right now. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about it. Okay, so a symptom is a phenomenon that is experienced by the individual affected by the disease. At the same time, a sign is a phenomenon that can be detected by someone other than the individual affected by the disease. So here's an example. A symptom is a person who is feeling unwell. So when patients come in, like, all right, so I don't want to use so when your kid comes and tell you, or your spouse or your loved one, someone comes and tell you that, yo, I don't feel good. You don't know what they're feeling. Like, you don't know, they're trying to describe the pain to you. That's why they're describing it to you, because you don't know what they're experiencing. This is something that only they are currently feeling. When somebody tells you they have back pain, you don't feel it. They can describe it. They can say it's sharp. They can say it's achy. They can say it's radiating. They can describe it. They can tell you the characteristics. But at the same time, you cannot validate that they truly have pain, right? Like, you can't go on court and testify that they truly have pain. You can only testify that they told you they had pain. So when we're talking about a symptom, this is something that only that person experiences. I have a headache. A headache is a symptom. How can I prove to you that I have a headache? I can't. I tell you my stomach aches. I can't prove that to you, but I feel it. So just because I can't prove it to you doesn't mean it's not real, right? But at the same time, that is a symptom, and that's something that I experience. Now, on the other side, we talk about a sign. A sign is something that we all can bear witness to. If I say I have a fever, which is an increase in temperature, guess what? I can verify that. How do I verify that? I verify that by checking your temperature, right? Um, if someone is telling me that they have swelling in their legs, that's a sign. And how do I check it? I look at their legs. I can now press on their ankles. I can see if they have edema. If they have edema, I can see what grade it is. Is it pitting 1, pitting 2? What grade is it? If somebody says that they're nervous and they have palpitation or they have a tachycardia, increase in heart rate, all right, I can measure that. And so remember, symptoms, only that person can feel it. Only that person can explain it and experience it. That is something they have a lock on. However, when it comes to sign, we can both bear witness to it. And so I can actually get on stage. I can actually testify that this patient was actually having supraventricular tachycardia. I can actually say that this patient had a fever of 105. This is why I did X, Y, Z. I can now testify and show evidence for why I believe that they had what they believe. Y'all get it? So now, type 5, if you get it, type 6, if you're not really sure what the difference is still. Help me out. 5, if you understand now. 6, if you don't understand. Let's see. All right, Tammy says she gets it. Okay, good. Okay, good. What else? Okay, yeah. Instagram says they're getting it. Okay, good. All right, y'all, this is important, okay? I need y'all to make sure you really understood the differences between a sign and a symptom, okay? Understand that, please. Let's continue. All right, so I see the 5s coming in. All right, let's continue. All right, so the question is, what are the signs and symptoms of high blood pressure? All right, so I'm gonna cover it up because I don't want y'all to cheat. Let me know, what are the signs and symptoms of high blood pressure? Remember what the 2 are. What are the signs and symptoms? And you all can actually go ahead and cheat. You can go ahead and do your Google search. You can do whatever. But let me know the signs and the symptoms of high blood pressure. Let me know. And also another thing to know about signs and symptoms is that they're consistent. When you're talking about a disease has a certain pathological process. It affects people in a certain way. And it affects people in a certain way, so much so to where they're able to say that 90% of these people, when they have pneumonia, are going to have a fever. 75% of these people, when they have this disease, pneumonia, they're going to have shortness of breath. 60% is going to feel lethargic. They're going to have these symptoms, and they're going to be able to actually categorize them and put a percentage on by how often they're going to see that. But there won't be too much wage back and forth as far as what the true sign and symptom of a true disease is. So let's go. What are y'all putting in there? All right, so Yolanda says headaches. Okay, all right. Okay, I hear you. We're gonna talk about it. Tamika says blurred vision, headaches, nosebleeds, shortness of breath. I hear you. Tammy says lightheadedness, headaches, nausea. Okay. Ramel says, symptoms, none. Or heart attack or stroke. Okay. Jay says there aren't any. Dizziness, increased heart. So, right. All right. So y'all, so pretty much when we look in the comments, and this is a learning moment, right? When we look at the comments on on Facebook, we're going to see that the symptoms and the signs are kind of all over the place, right? And when you go to look at the actual websites that are medical websites, XYZ, what do you want to see? Well, let's read about it right now. All right. So we have all heard that high blood pressure is referred to as the silent killer, right? Everybody's heard that, right? The silent killer, high blood pressure. That's what we all heard. Why? Because
There is no consistent sign or symptom. And someone could have high blood pressure for years without any idea. And I've seen this so many times. I had this one lady, I mean, the record, she holds the record. Very happy lady, very, you could tell she's the life of the party. Everywhere she goes, you can tell she's the life of the party. Big personality. And she was a new patient. She had been, seeing us at a she knew of me from another place, and then she came over to see us. But we had spoken to her on the phone so many times that we already kind of felt like we knew her before she got there. Anyways, checked her blood pressure, and her blood pressure was 240 over like one, I don't know, 140 ish. So this was like in the earlier days when I first started. So of course, me seeing something like that, immediately got on the phone with the medical director. I'm like, yo, what's good? I was like, you see this? What should I do? And he made the call and everything like that. So we did what we had to do. She came back maybe like 2 days later, and her blood pressure was essentially the same. They had her on medications. Our blood pressure was essentially the same. And then when she told me, she was like, my blood pressure. She's like, I've always walked around like this. She's like, I had my blood pressure taken before. She's like, but I don't feel anything. I've literally been walking around like this for a very long time. She's like, this feels fine for me. And when people lower my blood pressure, I now feel out of it. And she was like, but literally, I can recall up to 5 to 7 years ago, having a blood pressure reading like this at a CVS or Walgreens, something like that. She was saying, but that for her was normal. And many people will have that same story about having a normal blood pressure of a very high blood pressure. Like that's just normal. So when we talk about silent killer, they say that that's the reason why, because there's no consistent sign or symptom. And someone could have high blood pressure for years without knowing. We just talked about that. Some say that they experience headaches. All right, so I need y'all to listen up. So some people say that they experience headaches. However, high blood pressure does not cause headaches. Instead, headaches increase blood pressure. Why? Because headaches are painful, and pain increases blood pressure. That's another thing. Once you understand the function of blood pressure, you're also going to understand that pain increases blood pressure. And so the list of possible symptoms can go on and on and on. But one thing for sure is that there is no consistent symptom. Some people also report feeling lightheadedness. However, lightheadedness, listen to this, lightheadedness is a symptom of hypoperfusion and low blood pressure. So people get lightheaded when they have a low blood flow to the brain. All right. So lightheadedness has always been a sign of low perfusion to the brain. And so once again, the list can go on and on and on. But one thing for sure is that there is no consistent symptom. And you can go ahead and look, and you'll see that they don't really have a consistent symptom for high blood pressure. Now, that was symptom, but what about the sign? What is the sign for high blood pressure? All right, so we just talked about the symptoms. We now see that there's no consistent symptoms. But please, in the chat, tell me what is the sign. Remember the difference. Sign is something that we all can bear witness to. All right. Sign means that I can actually do something as a third party to verify that you actually have high blood pressure. So what sign? What is the sign for high blood pressure? Let me go in the chat. I'm gonna leave this up. Okay. All right. Pain increases blood pressure. Yes, pain increases blood pressure. That's absolutely right. All right, so let's talk about the sign. So when I ask you all about the sign of high blood pressure, I know for a fact that most people are thinking that the blood pressure measurement, right? Like the sign of high blood pressure is the blood pressure measurement itself, right? Wrong. Why? Because there's rules to this. Regardless of what them folks told you, there's rules to this. You cannot use a sign for the sign of that disease to qualify as a sign. You can't use a sign as a sign to be the sign for that disease. Y'all catch that? So you can't use high blood pressure measurement as a supporting sign for high blood pressure, which leads to my next point. So just kind of give you an example. That's like me being on trial for robbing the bank and them saying, do you have any witnesses to verify that you did not rob the bank and that you were actually home? I'm like, yes, I do have a witness. And it was like, all right, bring your witness to the stand. I'm like, boom, right here. I'm the witness. Listen, let me tell you how it happened. And I go through and I have to give my same spiel about how I wasn't the guy. You can't do that. And in medicine, you can't do that either. But they're doing it. So and this leads me to my next point. If there are no signs or symptoms of high blood pressure, then how do we diagnose and treat it? How do we diagnose and treat high blood pressure? So once again, we got to talk about what the word diagnose actually means. So 90 to 95% of people who have hypertension have what they call essential hypertension. What does this mean? This means that there is no identifiable cause. Y'all catch that? Essential hypertension means that there is no identifiable cause. Now, when we look at treatment, treatment is supposed to be designed to treat the cause. Well, if it doesn't have an identifiable cause, then what the hell are you treating? I'm not making none of this stuff up. Y'all can literally go to WebMD or any one of these other websites and look all this up for yourself. And now your level, your quality of questions has now been elevated because now you know what a sign is. You know what a symptom is. Now you're about to find out what it means to diagnose something. So let's go ahead and talk about it. But I need for y'all to really think about that. Essential hypertension. You got essential hypertension and you got secondary hypertension. Secondary hypertension means that we actually know what's causing it. We actually are able to identify what's causing it. Renal stenosis, which is the stiffening and the buildup of plaque in the renal, the actual renal arteries. That's going to cause high blood pressure. Some people can have tumors growing on their adrenal glands that can increase blood pressure. But secondary hypertension means that we can identify what is causing that increase in high blood pressure, right? We can find it. We can identify it. That's only 5% of what we call hypertensive people, hypertensive patients. That only makes up 5%. The other 90 to 95 cases of people who have high blood pressure is what they call essential hypertension, when it means essentially we don't know what the hell is going on with you. So finally, let's look at the definition of diagnosis. Diagnosis is the identification of the nature and cause of a particular phenomenon. Once again, essential hypertension has no identifiable cause. Therefore, it cannot be diagnosed. So let me go ahead and split up. Let me go ahead and gather all that up. It's not a disorder or a derangement, because we just went through talking about what the body's supposed to do as far as meeting an increase in vascular resistance. It's supposed to overcome the vascular resistance by any means necessary. Why? Because you are now putting trillions of cells at danger of suffering through hyperperfusion or ischemia. And if that ischemia lasts long enough, you're going to now have infarct. And that is the actual cell death of a group of cells. And so before your body does that, because it wants to be compliant with your doctor's recommendation or your doctor's wishes of 120/80, before it just dies and goes out like a pump, it's going to increase the blood pressure by any means necessary in order so it can perfuse the trillions of cells that you have. So it's not a disorder. It is a well-organized function of your body because it's responding to something else. It's responding to an increase in resistance. That increase in resistance can be because there's something blocking your arteries. The increase in resistance can be because your arteries are stiff and it no longer has the ability to rebound. It can be increased because you now have endothelial dysfunction, which most people do have on some level. So whatever the reason is, your blood pressure increasing is doing it on purpose. The body's doing this on purpose. Our job as a conscious individual is to find out what that reason is. Get to the actual root of the problem. So it's not a disorder. There's no consistent symptoms. I told you, when we're talking about pneumonia, I have a whole book. I have tons of books over here about medical conditions. And when I go to look at a real disease, if I'm looking at meningitis, I'm looking at pneumonia, if I'm looking at, even SARS, which this thing is new and, they're still trying to figure that whole thing out for signs and symptoms. But when I'm looking at real diseases, real classical diseases, you can see this or disorder. You can actually see the consistent symptoms. And so when they talk about those symptoms for something like pneumonia, we're not going all the way over here and all the way over there. It's very compact as far as the symptoms. Now, also, there is no sign. Why? Because you can't use a sign for a sign to be the sign of that disease. So you can't use high blood pressure as a sign for high blood pressure. Because what else are you going to use? What else are you going to use? And then we also talk about that there is no identifiable cause. I just told you 90 to 95% of blood pressure or high blood pressure is called essential hypertension. Essential hypertension means that there is no identifiable cause. They also call it idiopathic or primary hypertension. But one thing I'm going to tell you right now is that they will tell you that there is no identifiable cause. They go through the risk factors. How long has high blood pressure been around? Huh? It's been around for a while. And so there's still this pontificating and, family history, genetics, XYZ. And we're going to get into all of that. This is just the first part of one of the last series, but this is just the first part. We're going to go through and we're going to talk about family history. Don't worry, you're going to get this work. You're going to get this knowledge and information because you have to understand this stuff before next month, the month after that comes up. All right. It's very, really important for you to understand this stuff. So some people, and people will tell me this, practitioners, doctors, cardiologists, so many people who have degrees and, medical licenses, all these things. These folks will go as far as to tell me that I'm splitting hairs or I'm being too specific. I'm being too detailed with it. I'm only using the information that you gave me, that you wrote in your own books. I'm only going off of that. I'm not going outside of it. I'm not making anything up. But what I'm trying to understand is that how do you classify this as a disease? Now, one thing I will tell you is that I straight up had a medical attorney, medical lawyer tell me that whatever the masses and the majority of people think is real, as far as diseases, non-diseases, treatment, non-treatments, whatever they think is one thing, and that doesn't have anything to do with us. What matters is what's documented. She said the only thing that matters at the end of the day is what's documented. And so if you look in real medical textbooks and they have high blood pressure as a condition, which that is what it is, I'll agree with that. If they have it as listed as a condition, if the individual doctor or individual patient goes off and say, it's a disease, hey, hands off. Because they know that if they have to go to court to now defend this, it'll be an open and closed case. XYZ, such and such. Are you going around telling people that this thing is a disease? No, I'm not. Yo, y'all hold on real quick. Hold on real quick. Sorry about that, y'all. So, yeah, it'll be an open and closed case because on a document, they never wrote that this thing is a disease. They said it was a medical condition. Now, if you got people out there running around saying it's a disease and that, this is how you treat this disease, that's not, I told you what it is. I wrote it down in black and white. Now, what they do with it, I can't control everybody, Your Honor. I can't control it. So that's what you're seeing. Now, let's talk about splitting hairs. Okay, so high blood pressure is not a disease. So what's the big deal? The reason why this is a big deal is because you have now just been enrolled in a potentially sophisticated, abusive, lopsided, and non-beneficial relationship. Billions each year are spent on high blood pressure management, medications, or the complications that are said to be associated with high blood pressure. Most people taking blood pressure medications, although they are placed on it for life, will not benefit from them at all. But many will suffer unnecessary side effects. Overall, these medications won't even improve their health. And so let me go back to Facebook real quick. So I hope you all get that. I really hope you all get that. All right. And once again,
I'm going to be doing a series on high blood pressure. I already did a series on high blood pressure. I already have a book. I already have a course. I already put my recommendations and solutions out there. However, this right here is because I feel that we desperately need to get back to the basics as far as these so-called diseases go. Okay, because if you don't understand the basics, once again, get ready for the hustle. Okay, if you don't understand that the people you think are trying to find a treatment and a cure for you actually know that what we're treating is actually a sign itself. If you don't understand that, then forget about it. So that pretty much concludes the reading or the video. You know, I'm not even sure really what to call this, but I felt the need to really get on here and talk about this. I will be back on to talk about the remaining parts of high blood pressure. I'm going to go over family history. I'm going to go over, the truth about salt. I'm going to go over the proper way to take your blood pressure. I'm going to go over a couple of medications, a couple of classes of medications. And this is all information. Once again, I need for everybody to understand that this is not medical advice. Okay. This is not medical advice. This is medical empowerment. This is health empowerment. This is me getting you all to think differently about not only about high blood pressure, but all these things, all of these things. So several big things that I need for you all to take from this. What is the definition of a disease? What is a sign? What is symptom? What does it mean to diagnose something? All of these things. Because once again, in order for you to treat something, you got to be treating the cause. Hey, come on. Like, can we stop there? Can we stop there? Bro, what are you treating? What are you treating? If you can't diagnose it, because it's called essential hypertension, 90 to 95% of those cases have no identifiable cause. When you give me this medication, what are you treating? What are you treating? If you have bacterial pneumonia and I give you an antibiotic, I can tell you what I'm treating. I can tell you what I'm treating. When they give you medications for UTI, pretty much all these the real diseases, the bacterial and the viral conditions, they can tell you what they're treating. And not only that, they can actually tell you how long you have to take this treatment before the disease is now eradicated. However, somehow blood pressure and type 2 diabetes get to be its own special disease. And now they're like a gang where once you get in, there's no getting out. You just got to take it for years. Not only that, with the medications, you can be prepared to have to increase it. Not only increase it, but also add on other medications. At some point, you as a practitioner or a patient taking 4 medications for blood pressure have to ask, is there something else going on other than my blood pressure? Is there something else going on other than I just need more medications? 4 blood pressure medications? You know how many times I've seen that? 4. And then it's still uncontrolled. At some point, when does this become malpractice? At some point, when is this just like, when are we just ignoring the body? So I gotta calm down because the hustle is taking place, and most people are largely just going with it because of so-called authority. And if you are afraid to question authority, then you lost. You lost. What you need to understand is that you are the authority when it comes to your body. Who else is the authority if it ain't you? I'm sorry, I'm looking at the microphone. If you are not the authority, then who is? This doctor you just met a month ago and that you're going to lose if you lose your insurance? Okay, that's sounds like a good authority to have. This guy or this woman who won't even take care of themselves. They outside smoking every chance they get. They eating the worst of the worst food. They taking the same medication you get. Who is your authority? Who is your authority? Come on, man. So I get turned up because I care, and every year we lose thousands and thousands and thousands of people in our community unnecessarily from preventable conditions. Thousands and thousands and thousands. I mean, heart disease alone, 70,000.
African American, Black, African American women and men from conditions that are preventable. I know COVID is here. I know COVID is popping. I see the energy of people with the masks. I see people being very, very aggressive about putting on your mask. And that's cool, man. Wear your mask. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. But if washing your hands, wearing a mask, and eating a burger, you're playing yourself. If you're wearing a mask and drinking juice and soda, you are playing yourself. These folks are straight running game on you. Up here every single day telling you about the mask and washing your hands and saying nothing about food, when food is the main reason why 70% of this country is unhealthy, overweight. The other 50% of the young population from ages 18 to 25 cannot meet the requirements to get in the military. Bro, sit down. Don't try to act like health is your main priority. It's not. It's not, and it's evident. How are you the richest country and also the sickest country? This is not your priority. So once again, we got a situation where folks are peeing on your leg and telling you that it's raining. So don't be afraid to think for yourself. Don't be afraid to question these so-called authorities. They do not own you. And I need for us to understand that these folks do not own you. The idea that you just have to do what they say, no matter what they say. The idea that you're not even worthy of asking questions. All of that needs to be challenged. What are you paying them for? What are you paying insurance for every single month? What are you paying copay for? If the best you can get is once every 3 months, a 5-minute visit and a cold handshake. You can't even call back and ask a question. And if you do ask a question, good luck getting that answer. What are you paying for? So y'all deserve better. That's what I'm saying. Only if you want better. If you find with the system, if you find with how all that stuff works, then that is your right too. I'm very big on liberty. That's your right. If that's how you want to roll, then that is your right. You don't let nobody tell you to be healthy. You don't let nobody tell you, what to eat and drink. You don't do that. But if you want the truth and you only been going the wrong way or the unhealthy way because you didn't have the knowledge, well, then this information right here is for you. Everything I have to say is for you because I'm all about empowerment. You need to know this stuff because if you can break down this blood pressure thing is only the tip of the iceberg. However, I got good news for you. If you understand blood pressure being high, everything else will fall in place. Everything else is going to make sense. Once you understand that these things in your body that they're calling the audacity, you know how arrogant you got to be to call your blood pressure increasing the silent killer. You know how arrogant you got to be. I mean, it's only 60,000 miles of blood vessel. 60,000 miles. Planet Earth is 25,000 miles around. Planet Earth, 25,000 miles around. This means that we all have something in us, our blood vessels, that will wrap around planet Earth 2.5 times. You're trying to tell me that in the case that we have some type of restriction, constriction, blockage along that 60,000 miles of blood vessel, you're trying to tell me that my body should not have the ability to adapt to that resistance and overcome it by increasing the blood pressure? 37 trillion cells, bro. Come on, 37 trillion cells. Do you know what happens when you can't get blood to those cells? They die. You know what angina is? Chest pain. You know why people start having that? Because if they're doing something that is exerting them and their heart has to pump harder, and that means that the heart actually now needs more blood flow, which it's actually supplying, but the artery that's supplying the blood to that part of the heart has a blockage. And so the amount of blood that's getting to the heart is not enough. It's not going fast enough. And so you start to have ischemia. The heart is the cells in that area is suffering because they don't have the resources. And so since we talk about resources, don't think that you can't take this thing to actual terrestrial, a social level. What do people do when they don't have the resources? Especially when they know they're doing right by you. If you were a president of your body, who are you going to be? Which president could I liken you to? I don't want to get political, but with your body, with your trillions of cells, your trillions of citizens, consider you to be Trump or Obama. Once again, I ain't trying to get too political, but who are they liking you to? How do you treat your body? Are you being kind to it? Are you ignoring them? Are you ignoring their cries and their calls for justice? Are you sweeping it under the rug and saying, "Hey, everything is good"? Them folks, they're just tripping. They're just wilding out in the streets. They'll be all right. Or are you actually taking their pleas serious? Because you know when you make people or really anything feel like they have nothing to lose, that's like the most dangerous thing to do to a people. For you, not for them, for you, because they got nothing to lose and they literally have nothing to lose. They're putting it all on the line. And so when we're talking about our body, and if we were to relate it to society, what happens when people don't get the resources they need? Huh? How long before those protests become violent? How long before that protest become a straight out revolt? How long before them folks go up in arms? Same thing with your body. If you're not giving your body the nutrients that it needs, because other than that, if your body is organized, intelligent, self-healing, self-repairing, it has a system that will run the way it needs to run as long as it has proper resources. But the moment you start stripping away those resources and you start giving it lead in its water, you start having it being patrolled by aggressive cops that have the worst of the worst record. You start redlining it to the margins of society. You start placing it around pollution. What do you think is going to happen? Them folks ain't but so much people can take. Anyways, I'll be back on here next week to go over our next blog article. I should be back on Monday. I'll be back on in between to do just random conversations. But as far as specifically about blood pressure, it'll be next week, most likely Monday, and we'll have that conversation. Let me stop sharing the screen, and we'll have that conversation. All right. So, my bad. Let me read these comments. All right. Whoa, there's a lot of comments. Oh my goodness, there's 149 comments. All right. Let me get through them. Right. So, Takia says your blood pressure may be up in the moment, but that doesn't mean you have high blood pressure. Right. Yeah. Blood pressure fluctuates throughout the day. If I stand up right now, my blood pressure is going to increase. If I start running right now, my blood pressure is going to increase. If I sat down and calmed down, my blood pressure is going to decrease. My blood pressure is going to respond based on the needs. If I start squatting weights right now, it's going to increase. And even in a healthy individual, if you measure somebody's blood pressure while they're squatting weights, their blood pressure can be as high as 240 over 140. Like I told you about the other lady. That's right, in a healthy individual. Like, why would it not? You think you're going to put 300 pounds on your back, go down with it, and your blood pressure will be like, oh, well, just right here at 120 over 80. Come on, man. Like, these folks are running game. And then they want to actually lower it to 110 over 70. All right. Yes. Definitely. Good. I'm not a patient in medical field. Good. I'm glad y'all learned. That's what I'm here for. So, Takia brings up a good point. So we're focusing on the sign, not the source. Absolutely. Blood pressure being high is a check engine light. Blood pressure being high is a sign. Your blood pressure being high denotes the fact that there is something going on in your cardiovascular system that will not allow it to run at an optimal level. Your blood pressure should be seen as almost like a window inside of your vascular system. It is not a disease. And if it is a disease, what are you treating? And why you got so many different medications? ACE receptors, beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, diuretics. Bro, what are you treating? What are you treating? And why do some people need 3 and 4 medications? What are you treating? And why I gotta take this thing from a life? What are you treating? So, all right. So Takia says, so when your blood pressure is raised, you need to ask More questions. Ask why. Exactly. Exactly. All right. So should my mom not take her meds? No. So that's not what I'm saying at all. Once again, this is not medical advice at all. However, your mom and you should now look at what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. It's a signal. It's a sign. It's warning you of something else. So we now have to look at your mom's lifestyle because in the next blog we're going to talk about the idea of this thing running in your family. We're going to talk about the idea of this being based on family history. But you can download the free book. You can go through the free course. But look at your mother's lifestyle. I don't know how old your mom is, and be honest with yourself, her and you. Is there anything she needs to be doing right now to improve her overall lifestyle? Is she drinking soda or juice? Because that's going to increase glucose. High levels of chronic levels of increased glucose is going to cause increase in vascular resistance, which is also going to cause increase in blood pressure. Does she smoke? What kind of food is she eating? Is she eating processed foods? Because forget about it, like that's going to go up. Does she do any type of exercise? But also, what is her blood pressure? You know, like this whole thing that elderly people are supposed to have the same blood pressure as a 21-year-old is ridiculous. To compare and believe that a 70-year-old, 75, 80-year-old needs to have the same blood pressure as a 21-year-old or 25-year-old or 30-year-old, I challenge that. I challenge that because once again, it's not realistic. And I also challenge using medication to bring it down. So, especially when we find out that it doesn't work. Don't worry, we'll get there, but not too much in one night, okay? Because I really want you all to grasp this. All right, no problem. You're welcome, Keisha. I get it. I didn't go to medical school, but I need it to make sense for sure. Thank you for making it. I'm glad I can do that for you. I'm glad I can do that for you. And that's the thing. You don't need to go to medical school. You don't need a big degree, like all that fancy stuff. We're talking about your body. Who is going to be the expert on your body? Who's going to be the expert on the thing that you spend 24 hours in, 7 days a week, 365 days a year? How about your whole life? Who's going to be the expert on the very vessel that you spend your whole entire life in? It should be you. I would recommend that it's you and not some, I'm going to be nice, and not somebody outside of you. I don't recommend that you rely on an external party to be the expert of your internal. That's just me, though. Ramel says, "Oh, good, good, good. No problem, no problem. What's going on, Jay? No problem, brother. Yes, no doubt, no doubt." Um, Erica. So, Erica, unfortunately, I don't have any information on lupus outside of the basic information that you would be able to find online in general. And like I said, that's one thing you'll see about me. If I don't know, I'm going to be very open and upfront that I don't know. However, when I do know, I'm going to be extremely aggressive about it, the way I am with blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, PCOS, fasting, and all those things that you see me talking about. So, unfortunately, sis, I can't really give you any answers outside of what you already have seen. Drug dealers, some doctors. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. They better get in the back seat. They better get in the back seat, right? You can't have nobody driving your life. They need to be in the back seat or on the trunk. Pick. All right. I'd like to learn more about high white blood cell counts with no explanation. So there's an explanation. It's just a matter of diagnosing it. So white blood cell count. So white blood cell is something that you're going to find on the CBC, complete blood count. Usually white blood cell count is going to be the very first thing you see. Um, Anytime the white blood cells are increased, we usually look towards something going on bacterial. All right, bacterial. That's what more people stop with it. However, your white blood cells can go up also because you're a smoker. It can also go up because steroid injections. It can also go up because of what I say, smoking, steroid injections, and of course, an infection. That's the main reason. But I would say also look into those two things. Did you recently get a steroid injection? Are you taking any kind of steroid medications? Did you or do you smoke? Because when white blood cells, there's an explanation. It just takes investigation. It definitely takes investigation. All right. No problem, of course. Of course. Is it true that once you're on? So Jessica asked me, is it true that once you're on high blood pressure meds that you can't come off? In most cases, no, that is not true. In most cases, that is not true. Um, Now, I don't know your case. I don't even know if you're talking about yourself. I don't know your situation, your scenario. You can definitely send it to support@hbam.com. You can talk to my assistant, go back and forth with her to set up a consultation. She'll get some information for you, and you can go from there. But what I would say is that I haven't had anyone that doesn't have secondary. So, of course, secondary, we know that there's a reason, we know that there's a cause. You got to deal with the cause. But when it comes to primary essential hypertension, I haven't had a patient that I have not been able to get them at least off of their blood pressure medications, blood pressure normalized, um, as long as they follow the rules or follow the lifestyle, which is just real basic lifestyles. Eat whole foods, fasting, drink water, let go of the juice, the soda, move more, get sunlight. Sunlight is big. People don't think that sunlight or vitamin D is needed, but it's very much needed. And most African Americans, most Black people, most people are vitamin D deficient, especially Black people, and we need that. So the answer to the question: in most cases, people can get off blood pressure medications. Most cases, people can improve their blood pressure, lower their blood pressure. All right, wearing masks, smoke cigarette. Yeah. Oh yeah. I see it. I see it. I'm not gonna say I see it all the time, but I'm talking about. Oh, and this is the triple whammy. Mask on, and mask up. Cigarette smoking in scrubs. So healthcare practitioner smoking with a mask on, and that's what you're saying. What kind of health advice are you advising? What are you giving? All right, you're reluctant to pick up strangers. I hear you. I hear you. All right, y'all. So I'm gonna go ahead and head off. Me and finish reading these last questions. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Currently looking for a doctor. Can we get a networking of true physicians in the area? Yeah, so I am kind of I don't really know how to answer that question. I get to ask that question a lot of times. People ask me about practitioners in different states. And I'll tell you honestly what has happened to me, and I'm completely cool with it because I knew that this was going to happen. But many of my colleagues, many of my classmates, I know y'all watching this. A lot of people have kind of distanced themselves from me in the medical field because of my stance and because I'm so vocal about it, and because I'm so aggressive about it as well too. And they will straight up tell me that it's not that they disagree with me, it's just that the way I go about doing it, they disagree with. I'm like, oh, I can deal with that. You talking about feelings? Because I just want to know if you think that I'm right or wrong. Like based on what I just laid out, is it right or wrong? I'm right. All right, cool. That's all I want to hear. I don't care about how it makes you feel, because my ancestors, no one was asking them how they felt when they were going through the trauma that they were going through for all those years. So I'm somewhere else with it. If you can, silence their screams for white comfort, then we call you something else. We do something else with you. And so for the most part, I unfortunately don't really have much people to refer other people to as far as being a little bit outside of the system with their advice and recommendations. All right. No problem. No problem. So I really hope that this information helps you all out. Um, no problem, Ramel. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're all welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Yo, do me a favor. If y'all can do me any favors, I would really appreciate if you all share this video. Okay. Share this video because once again, I'm leading up to something before, I step away from H-BAMN for a little bit. I'm leading up to something. And yes, this something does have to do with coronavirus, COVID-19. Okay. So, but we got to learn how to be focused. We got to learn how to stay on a certain topic. We have to learn how to go deeper with our level of thinking and asking questions. Okay. And so what I'm making an attempt doing is actually walking you down that path. So right now, we just finished talking about high blood pressure not being a disease. We just took the very information that they gave you and showed you, made the case for why it's not a disease. We looked at the definition of disease. We talked about the definition of signs, symptoms. We talked about the definition for diagnosis. And so this is what I need for us to continue doing. All right. Don't get intimidated by all this fancy stuff they're throwing up. Don't let it intimidate you. We're going piece by piece. All right. My doctor expressed to me that one time that too many high blood pressure runs in the black community. I definitely set her straight. I'm currently looking for another doctor. Yeah. So I mean, the question is why, right? We that's the next conversation. The next time I come on here, which it may be Monday. I got a little calendar up here, yo. Family history. Oh, family history is going to be Monday or Thursday because I might do the ingredients, or my sister might do the ingredients on Monday, and so I might come on and do family history on Thursday. But either way, it's going to be a whole entire blog, and it will happen. Okay, and once again, it's going to be information that you're not used to hearing. So this is why I'm so angry at my physician now. The last time I went there because I was going in a situation with swelling extremities. He wrote my prescription, asked the root cause of the swelling and why was it going away. He told me it was hereditary and walked out the room. Wow, well, I'm definitely sorry to hear that, Elisa. Um, I definitely hope that you get more information. At least get a diagnosis versus just hereditary. Because, I mean, how simple is that to tell somebody? And how simple is it to make somebody feel trapped in their diagnosis? So, yeah, definitely sunlight. Good, 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 good. They want to sugarcoat it for sure. All right, y'all. So please do me a favor, share this video, share it out to your family, your friends, everybody you know. Let's make sure we get this information out there. That way we can have them come on when I go live again for the next explainer video. And right now, I just want to make sure that I'm leaving with everybody understanding, or at least understanding what I'm saying about high blood pressure not being a disease. You don't have to agree that it's not a disease, but you're going to have to rebuke it. Like you have to like debunk what I just said. Like I just told you what it meant to diagnose something. Diagnose means to identify the cause. These folks call it essential hypertension because 90 to 95% has no identifiable cause. Treatment is supposed to be based on the cause. If you don't know the cause, what the hell are you treating? That might explain why people are being told that you got to take this for the rest of your life because nothing's really being treated. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. And I will be hollering at y'all later. Remember, no matter what they say, no matter what goes on, this is our community, our responsibility. We have what it takes to aggressively improve it. All right. So with that being said, let's get it. Peace.